Hi everyone, this is Austin Burns and I'm here with a special episode of Tenors React. This is to the sexual allegations against Placido Domingo. According to an Associated Press article which was published yesterday, August 13th, he pressured women into sexual relationships by dangling jobs and then sometimes punishing the women professionally when they refused his advances. That's a direct quote from the article. It also mentions that at 78, he still attracts sellout crowds, continues adding to his 150 plus roles, and has sung in over 4,000 performances, more than any other opera singer in history. The article goes on to state that there are 9 accusers, 8 of which are singers, 1 of which is a dancer, accused him of sexual harassment over 3 decades starting in the 1980s. The Associated Press also spoke to 3 dozen other singers, dancers, and orchestra musicians, members of the backstage staff, voice teachers, and an administrator who all witnessed sexually tinged behavior. So far in the fallout, the LA Opera, which Domingo has served as the general director of since 2003, said it would hire outside counsel to investigate the accusation. The Philadelphia Orchestra has rescinded an invitation for him to appear at its opening night concert next month. The Met, the Metropolitan Opera that is, said that it would await the results of the LA's investigation before making any final decisions. To me, the thing that is so shocking about this story is not the accusations themselves, some really disturbing details that are left out of a lot of the subsequent soundbite versions for television or for radio. Many women detail that he incessantly called them, one of which said she never gave him her number, yet he found it somehow and was still calling her. It also details that there were explicit voicemails that were left on the answering machines of these women, some of which were married and would listen to these messages with their husbands. There are other times where he would be introduced to their spouse and he would kiss the woman and whisper in her ear, "I'm glad I could meet my competition," or something close to that. There is also an allegation that he invites a woman to his apartment to rehearse some arias that they're working on. She gets there, they do rehearse the arias, but then afterwards he starts kissing her and putting his hand down her skirt. Also, there's an accusation by a woman that when she was in the Tales of Hoffmann, as far as the staging was supposed to go, he was supposed to kiss her, and after he kissed her, he said, "I wish we weren't on stage right now." However disturbing as all of this is, apparently it was an open secret in the opera world that he was very aggressively going after women, and there is no allegation of rape, but it certainly seems that he pressured women into having sex, and if they didn't have sex with him, there were career repercussions for them. Also, this is not the first time that opera figures have been in the news for sexual harassment. Of course, James Levine, the famous conductor who has been the conductor at the Met for decades, a very prominent figure, also a conductor of several of the 3 Tenors concerts, has been accused by multiple people of sexual harassment. He's kind of the Harvey Weinstein of the opera world, another open secret in the opera community. It's kind of a cult around him. There's some very interesting articles about that as well. There was a tenor who, along with his husband, sexually harassed several men. I swear not all tenors sexually harass people or people interested in opera. In any case, it's a very sad day for me. Placido Domingo has been one of my idols for a long time. I loved watching the 3 Tenors concerts and listening to their albums. I even have a 3 Tenors tribute program that I do. And just recently I was working on a Spanish language program, which I bought a album that Placido Domingo put out. I believe it was in 2010 with a classical guitarist, which I really love. And I've been learning those songs and listening to him singing them. And so it's very sad to hear about these accusations. Despite not wanting to believe this article, I do have to say that it's very journalistically sound. They have a lot of sources, a lot of people that they have interviewed, and the stories themselves are very compelling. They have striking similarities. Again, I encourage that you go and read the article for yourself, and I will put a link below. Placido Domingo has really been a big influence for me, which is part of why this is so difficult. For me, I've always looked up to other tenors, especially Luciano Pavarotti, the three tenors in general, but specifically Placido Domingo really spoke to me because he was someone that was kind of a lower tenor and worked his way up and became a tenor. He didn't naturally have that higher register that Luciano Pavarotti did, and even though his voice may not be as brilliant in the upper range, it's very powerful, and he worked his way to get there. And so I felt quite a kinship in that I'm a lower tenor myself, but I've been working to get into my upper range. Also, I studied composition in my undergrad. I've been learning to play a lot of different instruments so that I can accompany myself. Placido Domingo is a great piano player. He's also a prolific conductor. When he got older and his voice changed and it got lower, instead of giving up and retiring from opera, he started singing baritone roles, which I really admired. So there are a lot of things about his career that really spoke to me and were relatable to me, and that's why it's very sad to hear this news. Though it's really good to bring to light these allegations against these specific figures, and I think that's very important. I think it's also important to look at the broader culture of opera in and of itself. When I was in graduate school at New England Conservatory, they brought in Jose Van Dam, who was a famed bass baritone opera singer, and he gave kind of a talk about what the opera world was like. Part of the things that he said was that in opera you are gone for 8 months out of the year, something like that. You're always on the road, you're with different people. A lot of times opera singers end up cheating on their spouses, which seems to be quite a theme through the opera world. I just saw the Ron Howard film about Pavarotti. In there it talks about how he cheated on his wife. It was a big deal back in Modena where he lived, that it kind of burst the bubble of this perfect tenor that was kind of his image. And now we learn about Placido Domingo not only cheating on his wife, but also sexually harassing people in the process. Not exactly great, but I digress. So going back to Jose Van Dam, he was talking about how opera singers are always cheating on each other, they're gone all the time, and it's not a great culture for relationships, which was one of the reasons why I really decided this is not for me, because that year that they brought him there, I had just gotten married, and I thought, well, I'm not going to be gone from my spouse 8 months out of the year, and I certainly don't want to be around a lot of people that are cheating on each other all the time. So I guess this is all part of a bigger trend in opera where people just sleep around. Obviously that doesn't excuse this kind of explicit sexual behavior, but it's definitely part of a larger trend. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure what I was trying to say with this video. I believe the women, and I find it to be really sad and unfortunate. And, you know, it's, as was quoted in the article, the death of an idol, you know. One of the women said that when they first got to work with him and they were so infatuated with him, and then when he made these explicit advances, for her it was the death of an idol. I think that's kind of how I feel at this point. I hope you enjoyed this update. Please subscribe to my channel. Feel free to hit the little notification bell if you want to be notified about my next video. My next video is going to be O Sole Mio, which of course is the famous Neapolitan song, which is also known in the Elvis world as It's Now or Never, which I guess for copyright reasons I won't do. I could do It's now or later, I just don't know. Please something, something, I can't make up more words. But anyway, you get the point. Elvis version, and also the Neapolitan original O Sole Mio, which I will be premiering next Thursday. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope to see you again next time.